Hi guys, it's Morgan and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about episode 4, episode 5, and the finale of season 2 of Loki. Now, if you haven't seen the episodes, there will be spoilers in this review, so stop watching if you don't want to be spoiled. So, here's my review for episode 4, episode 5, and the finale of season 2 of Loki. Miss Minutes wasn't kidding when she told Renslayer that she knew a secret about her that would make her angry. And that secret was that Renslayer led He Who Remains' army and was originally going to lead the TVA with He Who Remains, but He Who Remains had Miss Minutes erase Renslayer's and the rest of the people at the TVA's memories. And when Miss Minutes told Renslayer that they never needed He Who Remains, it was clear that they were going to try and take over the TVA, which did not sound good. It was really sweet to see how big fans Obi and Victor were of each other when they met. And it was also interesting to find out that everything Obi knows he learned from Victor, and everything Victor knows he learned from Obi, creating a paradox. I also didn't blame Sylvie for how she reacted when Mobius said that he, Loki, and Sylvie should have some pie while Obi, Victor, and Casey worked. And it was clear that Mobius was upset when Sylvie pointed out that Mobius hasn't looked for his timeline yet to see what his life was like. When Judge Gamble told Hunter B-15 that they needed to convince General Dox to help protect the new TVA, I was thinking that that wasn't going to work. But when Hunter B-15 asked General Dox and the hunters working with her to help them, and then gave them some time to think about it, it looked like General Dox was going to accept Hunter B-15's offer. But then Renslayer and Miss Minutes showed up and told General Dox and the other hunters that they could have a life on the timeline if they worked with them. But only Hunter X5 accepted that, and General Dox and the other hunters were killed. And even though we didn't see their bodies, based on Hunter B-15's reaction when she saw them, it was clear that it was pretty gruesome. Also, if you didn't already think Miss Minutes was psychotic, her reaction while General Dox and the other hunters were dying absolutely made that clear. I was glad that we finally got an explanation of why Loki saw Sylvie in the future TVA. And we also found out that Sylvie wasn't the one who pruned Loki. Loki pruned himself from behind. And it was funny to see how confused Sylvie was when Loki promised her that it would make sense. It was also good that OB was able to reboot the system and lock Miss Minutes out, but I was wondering if they would end up rebooting Miss Minutes. And if they did, I was hoping that they wouldn't include the evil parts of her. And in the finale, Miss Minutes was rebooted, and she was more friendly. At least for now. I was surprised that Renslayer got pruned by Hunter X5 when Sylvie was controlling him. But I was wondering if she would come back somehow. I mean, Renslayer pruned Loki in season 1 and he came back. And based on the finale, it looks like she could come back. It was also great to see how brave Victor was when he volunteered to be the person to fix the temporal loom. So it was really sad when he turned into spaghetti. And since the episode ended with the temporal loom exploding and the blast heading towards Loki, Sylvie, Mobius, Hunter B-15, OB, and Casey, I was wondering what was going to happen next, since it was obviously going to be hard to get out of that situation. When it was revealed that Loki was alone in the TVA after the blast, I was wondering where everyone else was. And when Loki started time-slipping again, I didn't blame him for being upset since he thought that he stopped that from happening. I couldn't wait for everyone to be reunited, but it was clear that that was going to be hard. It was cool that in this episode, we got to see who Casey, Hunter B-15, Mobius, and OB really were. Casey was an escaped prisoner from Alcatraz named Frank. Hunter B-15 was a doctor named Dr. Willis. Mobius was actually named Don, and he worked at a jet ski store, which explains Mobius's love of jet skis. And he was also a single father with 2 sons. And OB was a scientist and an author named AD. It also made sense that AD believed Loki when he told him what was happening, and agreed to help him get back to the TVA. But it was also pretty funny when the one time Loki tried to time slip, he couldn't. It was understandable that Dawn didn't understand what Loki was talking about when he told him about the TVA and that his name was actually Mobius. But then AD showed up through a time portal, which proved that Loki was telling the truth. I was glad that Loki was able to get AD, Dawn, Dr. Willis, and Frank together in order to help get the TVA back, but they still needed one more person, Sylvie. It was funny how Loki reacted when Sylvie knew who he was. And even though I understood why Sylvie wouldn't help Loki, since she thought it was good that everyone was back in their real lives, it was sad when Loki revealed that the reason he wants to fix the TVA was so he wouldn't be alone and he wants his friends back. But when the record store that Sylvie was at turned into spaghetti, she decided to help Loki. When Frank, AD, Dawn, Dr. Willis, and Sylvie all turned into spaghetti, I was wondering what Loki was going to do next, because it seemed like there was nothing he could do after that. But then Loki was able to control his time slipping and went back in time to before everyone turned into spaghetti, and he realized he could rewrite the story and went back in time to before the temporal loom exploded. I couldn't wait to see what was going to happen in the season 2 finale. Even though each attempt ended with Victor still becoming spaghetti, it was funny to see Loki go back in time multiple times to try and fix the outcomes so Victor would survive and the temporal loom would be fixed. And even though it looked like one of the attempts worked and Victor was able to come back, they realized that the temporal loom was still failing. So Loki decided to go back in time to before Sylvie killed He Who Remains. When Sylvie told Loki that if he wanted to stop her from killing He Who Remains, he would have to kill her, it showed that even though Loki wanted to save the TVA, he cared too much about Sylvie to kill her. It also wasn't a surprise when He Who Remains revealed to Loki that he knew about Victor and also knew that Loki was trying to fix the temporal loom. But I was also proud of Loki when he told He Who Remains that he would find another way when He Who Remains told him to kill Sylvie. It was sad when Mobius from the past told Loki about an incident when hunters went to prune someone who would be responsible for a lot of deaths that weren't meant to happen, only to find out that they were just a little boy. And one of the hunters, who never had a problem with pruning anyone before, froze. And Loki realized that that hunter was Mobius, and Mobius confirmed that and said Renslayer ended up pruning the boy instead. It was also an emotional scene when Loki was telling Sylvie from the past everything that was going on. But it was also funny when Sylvie told Loki that she wasn't going to give him her blessing to kill her. When Loki decided to fix the timelines himself, it was really sad to see Sylvie and Mobius's reaction, since they both care about Loki. But it also showed how far Loki has come, since he was willing to spend the rest of his life alone protecting the timelines if it meant that the people he cared about were safe. Obviously, anything can happen in the future, but based on this ending, it looks like Loki's storyline is over. And if that's the case, I just want to say Tom Hiddleston has done a great job playing Loki. It was funny when Hunter B-15 asked OB if the rebooted Miss Minutes would try and kill them, and OB just shrugged. But it is an understandable concern. It was also sad when Mobius told Hunter B-15 that he was leaving the TVA. But it was nice that she told him that there would always be a seat for him to help lead the TVA. I'm also wondering what Renslayer's going to do next, since we see her waking up in the void and she sees Eliath. It was also really emotional seeing Mobius and Sylvie watching Dawn and his sons. But I'm also wondering what Mobius is going to do with his life now that he's left the TVA. I mean, he can't go back to his life from before the TVA, since that would mean replacing Dawn. Even though it looks like this will be the last time we see Loki in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, at least for now, I'm hoping that we'll get to see the other characters in something else in the future. And if any of them ever meet Thor, I'm wondering if they'll tell him what Loki did. It would most likely be confusing for Thor, since the Loki he knew died, and this Loki was from a branched timeline. But it would be nice if Thor knew that Loki saved the timelines. Thanks for watching, guys! If you saw the episodes, let me know in the comments what you thought about them. And if you want to see any of my previous Loki reviews, check out the playlist. And if you want to see any of my future videos, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video.